everyone. Welcome to Artists of Color. My name is Elaine Hall-Corbin, your host, and I'm so glad to be back with everybody. You know what coronavirus has been doing to all of us. So I'm really happy and so excited to be out there with my folks again and doing what I do and love the most. I want to welcome an amazing queen, sister, friend, and founder and executive director of, yeah, right. Okay, here we go. Knew this was going to work. But anyway, she's my friend, Catherine T. Morris. I call her Cat, and she's a founder and CEO of Boston Arts, Music, and Soul Festival. Bams.
Thank you, Elaine.
Yes, I know. That's what Corona's doing to me.
I know, I know.
You know we got to get out, girl.
Uh-huh, I do.
Catherine, it's so good to see you.
You too. It's been a
You know,
while.
the last time I saw you was at the Isabella Gardner.
Yes.
That's the last time I saw you.
It's good
But it's so
times
good to
then.
see
It was
you
a
again.
good conversation.
It was an amazing conversation. I had so much fun, and it was so enlightening to listen to those artists
Yeah.
speak. I had no idea, who was going to be there until I walked in the room and they started coming out, and I said, "Oh my
Mm.
God, people I know!" It was like amazing. Your moderator, she was fabulous.
Oh, thank you.
She was
Ariel she's awesome. I love her.
she's great. I'm telling you. So tell me, what's been going on with bands these days, and what have you been doing?
Well, unfortunately, we had to cancel our festival this year because of this pandemic. I know it hurt a lot
It
of
hurt.
people.
It hurt.
There were some new things we were going to add this year, but I would say that this year has been a year of transition, a year of transformation for us. Um,
Yes.
at the top of this year, despite the pandemic, um, I wanted to make sure that self care was a priority for our staff, our team, our volunteers, our board. So I asked everyone to kind of leave for a couple of months.
You did.
So yeah, I mean, as a leader, you can't expect 100% from everyone when we're all going through the same experience. Like everyone's tired. So
And I understand that.
yeah, so I asked everyone to just leave and prioritize self care, and I use that as downtime to plan, to plot, to mobilize, to strategize. And
So
so I
you,
started
so you can be
asking.
ready.
I started brainstorming. I started building different brain trusts with different community people to get their perspective on how I should lead and what things could I do to be better and how can the organization show up differently in 2021. And because of that, we were still able to do programming, but obviously we had to transition to virtual. So even though the festival didn't happen this year, we did a Black Music Month tribute with the DJ series. And so we hired five Black and Brown DJs of all ages, all different skill sets to curate a playlist of songs that inspire them and why they love Black music. So
Mm.
that went off very well. People are still asking about if that can happen next year. So we're working on that. And then we partnered with the Esplanade Association to do their first ever virtual music series called Ground Beat, which we normally do at the Hat Shell almost every summer, but we had to go virtual. And we featured 10 Black and Brown artists. We pre recorded their performances in music venues across the city, still to remind people that these venues still exist. They haven't, gone away. Um, and we range everything from hip hop to R&B to jazz to folk music, all Black and Brown people. So it was great. We had a total of about 400 people come to those events. It ran every Monday for an hour in August. And then most
Wow.
currently, yes. And then we supported one of our alumni artists, Red Shades, with her album release, which was amazing this year. And because of that, we met this amazing vendor who we're working with right now on our latest series called Verses or Vibes Battle, which is our first virtual music competition with local artists that we selected over the summer, and they are competing for $5,000 in cash and prizes and to secure their spot at Bands Festival 2021. So I've been busy.
You have been busy, very, very busy. I
Yeah.
registered for that. So I will be watching that one.
Good, good, good. Yeah,
Oh, yes.
the
Yes.
performances are going well. We have a judges panel this coming week who will, we have some music industry judges that will come together to cast their single vote as to who they think won the battle. And we'll announce the winner on Friday. And, you know, on to the
Okay.
next thing.
On to the next day, to the next thing.
Yeah.
I would like for you to tell everyone, because I know the story, how BAMS got started.
Sure.
Give us a little bit. I know
Well,
the
for,
history, but give us a
well,
minute.
for those who don't know, I'm a Boston native. I was born in Jamaica Plain, raised in Roxbury, majority of my life. All my family is here, and I grew up at a time in Boston where talent shows were a thing, where you studied music videos. You know, you battled the next, Boys and Girls Club or the Shelbourne or the Cooper Center. Like, that's the generation I grew up in. And so when I was a student at Temple University in Philadelphia, I love events. I love what events can do for a community, for people. Um, and while I was in Philadelphia, I was only required to graduate with one internship. I did 7 because I was very nosy. And of those 7, there were 2 that changed my life about using festivals as a way to bring communities together and to drive um, uh, the local economy to a better place. And so when I graduated in 2008, during a lovely recession, I came back home and recognized that Boston didn't have a festival that holistically celebrated Black and Brown artists, let alone our contribution to the community, to the city, and the state. And that there wasn't a festival that was scaling the way that I had imagined it, like an Essence or the African American Music Festival, or several other, Broccoli City Festival. There, we just didn't have that. We had cultural festivals that were specific to different cultures, but to really represent all of the neighborhoods and all the Black and Brown people who are creating every single day, and supporting them. And not only that, supporting local Black and Brown vendors, small businesses. There really wasn't a festival that did that. And so in 2014, I was at Simmons University getting my master's, and I randomly took a business plan writing course and turned Bands Fest into a nonprofit organization, a business. And ever since then, we have been planning different events and shows and conferences across the city to mobilize artists, to encourage members of the community to come out to our events, to meet the people, really creating a space of belonging and togetherness. And when we debuted our festival in 2018, 2,200 people showed up in the rain for 8 hours. And then the following year, in 2019, 6,500 people showed up in a perfectly beautiful day. So what would have been in 2020, we would have gotten to about 10,000 people.
Yes, you would have.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Hmm. But I'm excited for the future. We're so excited for what we're getting ready to deliver for 2021 and beyond. Like I said, it's a year of transition and transformation. So, as a small hint, Bands Festival is scaling to a full weekend in 2021.
So you're gonna make sure I don't stay home, right?
You can still stay home. Like, there's parts of it
Yeah,
you can
I
totally
only
enjoy.
live on the hill.
But if you want to come out, there's, obviously this is vaccine pending, but if you want to come out and the city allows me to do this, then yeah, there'll be something outdoors for everyone to kind of spread out and be socially distant and still experience, a shorter live concert, but at least you get to experience that again, because I think that's what we've been hearing from everybody is that they can't wait till next year. Just like, whatever you're doing, doesn't matter, just do something.
Anything.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
What is the process? What
What's
is the process to doing, I know, to putting together a festival like this? What do you do? What do you have to do?
Well, you have to have vision and know you can't stray from that vision. It's taken me 10 years to get this idea off the ground because so many people said I was crazy, or it's like, oh, I don't think Boston could ever do that. And I'm like, yes, it can. There's all these other festivals that are doing it,
Thank
so
you.
why can't we, right? So
Thank you.
there's inherent bias and systems of injustice that try to get my way. But we manifested and made it happen. So it's really about vision and surrounding yourself with people that can do the work, that support your vision, that are willing to put in the sweat equity to make it happen. It's about brokering those relationships at the city government level, because we're heavily involved with city government. We're on public property. So, understanding the lay of the land, understanding civics, understanding the roles of each department and the role that you need to play in facilitating those conversations. Um, and I think the other thing is just remaining true to why you started the thing in the first
In the
place.
first
Like,
place.
at the core of it is to make sure that we are changing the narrative of Boston's identity, culture, traumatic and devastating
Yeah.
history to look much different, and to you know drive economic development in our neighborhood. Like,
Drive it
I
up.
want to be able to close the racial wealth gap, and a festival is one small way to do that, because you get to drive people to a specific neighborhood that's
That they
underutilized,
wouldn't
or
normally come.
yeah. So I
Mhm.
mean that for all those reasons, the vision is clear. I personally have 10 years to make this festival work. And then whoever comes after me, whoever is my successor, will have big
There
shoes
will
to
never
fill.
be a successor.
There will be. I'm not gonna do this forever. I got
Yes,
other
you are.
projects to do, Elaine. But this one is the biggest, because you're talking about tens of thousands of people, right? And even in an outdoor space, I remember in 2019, someone said, this feels like a black wonderland. I don't.
Mm.
I'm not disturbed by the ambulance or cars or car horns. Like, I feel safe in Franklin Park in Playstead Field, which is amazing to
There you
hear.
go.
And so I think that year, like, everyone was like Wakanda signs everywhere. It was so beautiful, and it was so diverse. I mean, we had more families in 2019 come out. We have more young people come out. People just
Beautiful.
It was a beautiful day. And so, the pressure is to come back from that with a year off, essentially, and still create a space of belonging and togetherness and family and unity. And
Mhm.
so, I think our smaller virtual events are to remind people that we're still here, and that we love you. And even in a virtual space, we're trying to create these spaces of belonging, so that it's not new to people about what the festival can do for them,
No.
right? So it's really just about vision, and I think everyone that has been a part of what I'm doing, I set out to do what I said I was going to do, right? So rather than just say it, I did it.
You
I
did
continue
it.
to do it. I have proof of
Yes.
concept. I've gained so many relationships, so many people that now advocate on my behalf, when I remember when I started, no one did. So, 10 years in the making, it's starting to pay off a little bit, which is great.
Oh,
And
it's fabulous.
the amount of artists that we see are amazing, from not even just from New England, I mean, around the world,
All over.
all over.
All over. Yes. I remember, since I'm asking you about history. I remember this a conversation that you were on a panel at Northeastern's A Crossing,
Hmm.
and we were talking about the Black movement, the art and cultural Black movement, the cultural Black movement, the poetic Black movement.
Hmm.
And you were on that panel with amazing people, like a scared
Yes.
to know. Okay. and Lamerche Frazier,
Oh,
and and Jackie Parker. Yes, I remember those things.
ooh,
Oh, still back
my,
there. But hey, you were doing it.
all my wisdom people. Those,
There you go.
man,
And that's what I wanted to ask you about wisdom.
yes.
You talked about going and talking around the community
Mm,
about what was the cultural and the artistic scene back in the day.
yeah.
How did you find that? How did you find talking to those people?
What's beautiful about Boston is that small. So
Oh yeah,
there is someone in my family who knows all those people, which is great. But the first person obviously was talking to my parents, talking to my aunts, who the pictures that they painted. I'm like, where was that? Because I want to experience that. But it led me to, through different networks, it led me to people like Valerie Stevens,
there you
who
go.
gave me a totally different perspective about where things were, the hangout spots, the unofficial and official
And
spots
official,
where
there you
folks
go.
performed, kind of different movements that were happening, publications, other culture makers and producers in the city at that time, who was leading what, Boston being literally a throughway for a lot of different entertainers within a certain time period. And then, gentrification happened, the crack pandemic happened, politics happened,
Oh yes, it did.
racism was at its high, and then you start to see a huge shift, right? And then technology comes in and just completely
Turns
changes the
everything
dynamic.
around.
But I felt like in order to fulfill this vision, you have to understand the history. You have to understand, where you're coming from, or what the history or the shoulders that you stand on to make this work. So getting to a Jackie Parker, and understanding like stories around theater, um, understanding about Elma Lewis, whose shoulders I absolutely stand on because of her work at Franklin Park. Um, gave me the fuel to defend all those who came before me, through this next generation, of why this festival matters more than just it being a festival. We're talking about, you know, um, revitalizing a Black arts Wall Street, essentially, right? In
Mhm.
terms of acknowledging that creative entrepreneurs make the world go round. Like without creation, our world will look very dull, right? And
Yes,
we
it
all
would.
benefit from the uses of the arts, whether
Right.
it's to heal, whether it's to connect, whether it's to build your business, doesn't matter. We
Uplift.
all benefit from it.
Yes.
And so with all that history, on occasion I still go back to those folks just to remind me as to why am I still doing this? But to learn more, just to understand um, the kind of artists that were coming through Boston, or the different movements that were happening. It all informs the kind of programming that I want to do, that pays a little bit of homage to old Boston, as well as giving reference to what the future of Boston would look like through a black and brown arts lens,
There
particularly.
you go.
Yeah,
Wow.
but
Yeah, that part that you talked about, standing in the shoulders of those that have come before you, and you said, I really stand on the shoulders of Elma Lewis. You have no idea, when I first saw, when you did 2018, that was the first thing that came to mind.
hmm
Because in the summertime back then, way back then in the day, we all lived. I did. We all lived in Franklin Park
yeah,
because that's what was going on, the arts and the culture and the music. And
mm-hmm.
here you come doing the same thing. No one can ever be on Elma. We all know this. But you are the new Elma Lewis for the
No,
20, because you are bringing back what
yeah,
was back in the day.
Give yourselves a round of applause. That means a lot to me.
wow, that was 2018.
For those that don't know, it's taken me more than 8 years to put this festival together. So just the fact that you're here means something. Yes, 8 years. Other than that, ladies and gentlemen, please have an amazing day. We have a super dope lineup. Get yourselves ready. Hashtag rep your city at BandsFest, all social media. All right? All right. All right, let's do this.
Mm. Mm-mm-mm. The new Elma Lewis. That's tough.
Woo. You'll be all and we're still hanging.
Yes.
And that was great. That piece right there was beautiful.
Yeah.
You should have said, I remember that word. I remember when when you opened up, because remember I was there at 10:30 in the morning.
Yes, you were early. You were one of my first.
You
I
said,
said, look at Miss Elaine. Oh my goodness. All
"Yes,
right.
early." You told me to come and get a front row seat. So
Well,
I
you
did.
never know when you have to claim your own patch of grass.
That's
So,
right. You gotta claim it.
whew.
Oh my gosh. And then I said, it's raining out here. Wait a minute.
it drizzled. I won't say it rained. It
Well,
was
it
like
drizzled.
it drizzled. Like, and I was very, very shocked that there were that many people still
People,
out there. Like
I
it just
know.
showed
It was
everything that I've
beautiful.
ever believed about my city.
See?
That no matter what, hell or high water, as long as it's not a tornado, people are
There
going to
you
show
go.
up.
Long as it's not a tornado.
As long as it's not a tornado, and ironically, that was the coldest day in June that year.
Wasn't it?
And all of our hoodies sold out.
Gee, I wonder why.
All of our everything. It was so funny. It was so funny.
I went I went home 3 times that day to get
Yep.
boots, to get another coat. I said, what?
I remember getting the call like, do you want to cancel? I'm like, nope,
Nope.
absolutely not. This is a rain or
We're not
shine event.
canceling.
We will
Not
pause if we
can-
need to, but it's gonna
There you
happen.
go. We will pause, but we ain't canceling.
Nope.
Sorry. Can't do that.
Mm-mm.
Oh, I'm telling you.
Yeah. It was a good time.
Unbelievable. But that's what that was like, are you serious? But it was beautiful.
It
It was
was. It was
beautiful.
beautiful.
And when all this,
Kendra,
when people
we had
started,
Kendra's Family Soul that year. It was beautiful. Like,
yes, it
could have
was.
not asked for the perfect group to kick off the
Oh, they were
festival.
great. They were amazing.
They
Oh, they
were.
were beautiful. They were so beautiful. I had a ball. And should have seen, I know you, because you're too busy walking around doing your thing. But I know people kept looking at this little tiny woman sliding through people. I said, excuse me, excuse me, excuse me. I have to get up. I can't see. Can I get up in front of you? It was like, but I've never seen anything like it since back in the day. And I just know I will always see something bigger in the future.
For sure.
You will
For
continue.
sure.
You will continue. And I know
Thank you.
that. Yeah. And so tell me, I know you mentioned verses and vibes
Yes.
that's you've been doing this week long thing. What else have you done since
What else? My
pandemic?
goodness.
No, I mean for this year in this crazy pandemic.
Well, we're in the middle of a giving campaign. Supporting our work. We were hit hard by
Okay.
the pandemic. We had to let
Oh
people
yeah.
go. And so to do that work requires investment. Investing in our campaign is investing in the people who make movements happen. And it's the artists. They're our greatest asset. You
Yes,
know,
they are.
without them, we do not exist. You know,
Thank you.
all the fight, all the advocacy, all the, you know, bringing our own chairs to the table or
Table.
bringing our own table with our own chairs
Okay.
doesn't happen without the artists and their grit and their determination to be seen, heard, valued, and appreciated. So, in order to do that, though, you have to invest in folks who make it happen, you know, and we're a volunteer run organization. You know, we want to be able to transition where, you know, we can at least onboard some part-time staff to make
Staff.
this work. Like right now, I'm it. You
You're
know, I
it.
have a
Sound
great
like me.
volunteer
I'm it.
team, but they yeah, you know, I have a great volunteer team that they also have full-time jobs, right? And
Okay.
so at the end of the day, I'm wearing 147 hats,
Okay.
right?
Ooh.
And that's a lot, you know,
Yes, it
but
is.
I have a vision. I want to make sure it happens. But you know, even during this whole development of Bands Festival as an event, I also have a son. You
I
know, I'm a mom.
know.
I'm a first time mom of
How
a
big
three
is
year
he
old
now?
boy who's amazing.
How
He's
big is he
almost four
now?
feet.
What did you say?
He's about 4 feet. He's about
Oh
4 feet.
my
He's about
gosh.
3 years old now. Yes.
I remember when I saw
So, you know, it's been an interesting roller coaster to say the least. But it's been that. We're also gearing up to partner with colleges and universities over the next couple of months. We'll be having a t-shirt campaign from local graffiti artists and muralists to help, you know, cement that we are here. We're trying to show up differently than we ever have before. So, um, and redefining who we are. You know, we're more than a festival. We are a movement. We
Thank you.
are led by Black and Brown people. We are on the front lines of racial and social justice with an arts and culture lens. We are about economic empowerment and sustainability for Black and Brown communities. And the festival is one layer to that, it's one lever. But we also do professional development. We also do strategic partnerships because we have to diversify how we get these creative entrepreneurs in the door across all different types of institutions, organizations, and businesses. So there's a lot of advocacy work that we do. There's a lot of
What
visiting the
help is
state house.
being
There's a lot of talking to state reps about why arts and culture, but particularly the economy of arts and culture, the creative economy is so important and vital to our city and our state.
how does one get in touch with you, connect with you on the strategic avenue as well as yes, as well as the partnership avenue.
So they can reach us at info@bandsfest.org. And our lovely student assistant, Ashley, will make sure to coordinate schedules to get to me.
Okay.
Folks can also follow us on social media at BandsFest.
Yep.
You know, start subscribing to our YouTube channel. There'll be more video content coming out very soon. We're also looking for folks to join our board.
You're
Um,
still looking for people for the board.
absolutely.
I thought
Absolutely.
that was okay.
No,
It will
that's
be.
never closed. You know,
Oh,
I think what's important is always to have community voice on our board that can help us broker different partnerships that could happen. We'll also just see things a different way. So we're always open to people joining our board, right? Um, and volunteering, like that's the other best way. That's literally how I got the team that I have now, who's
they
been with me
volunteer.
almost 4 years. Is, you know,
Mhm.
if you have a certain expertise or skill, you have a short period of time or a long period of time to give, you know, volunteer. That's, I mean, folks have learned a lot just from my own leadership about how I run this organization, how to critically think about how we move as Black and Brown people, whether it's up the corporate ladder or across, doesn't matter. But how we show up is very particular based upon having conversations with elders, looking at what Boston was, what has changed, what are some elements that we need to repeat, what are things we need to do differently. because that's what got us here organically, is through that. All of our followers, we don't pay for followers.
That's
We
right.
build organically because that's how it rolls here in Boston and beyond.
That's true.
Hmm.
That's true.
For sure.
2021.
2021.
Oh my goodness.
Hmm.
2021. I know you gave us a little tiny piece, but 2021.
I'm optimistic.
I'm very optimistic. I news talking about this vaccine that everybody's, two major vaccine companies have come up with, of course, all both in the Massachusetts area.
Right.
Yep. And, when we've, Massachusetts, Boston particularly, has always been the medical capital of the world. Now
We
here
have,
we
yeah, we have the brightest minds here.
Yes. And so now here we come, two major medical companies have now both come up with vaccines. So now they're coming out. What do you think of that? What do you think of my question is, what do you think of Black and brown people
With the
taking,
vaccine, taking the vaccine,
yes, taking the vaccine?
I think what I've learned in talking to different people is history has come up a lot. And a lot of us don't want to repeat that history because it has generationally affected all of us.
Yes, it
And
has.
our relationship with doctors, the healthcare industry as a whole, that has historically not cared for us, and we've had to find our own ancestral ways
To take
or
care of
roots
us.
to take care of ourselves. So any kind of injection of any kind of foreign substance has become an interesting trigger for Black and brown people as to whether it makes sense to take it, knowing that our bodies are built differently than other people.
Yes.
So, I think obviously for those that are most vulnerable, that it's your choice. If there's other ways that are, alternative or non-Western, the choice is yours. At the end of the day, though, we all have to take into account that, we all are in this together. So whatever the collective consensus will be, then we need to go with that, at least in my humble opinion.
Okay.
But I find that there's a lot of Black and brown people and communities getting back to their ancestral roots.
Yes.
And reading more and finding out, natural ways to keep themselves away from viruses or not be as prone to, which has been beautiful to see. Folks are cooking and they're asking questions and they're leading online virtual classes. I'm like, yes, we should have been doing this years ago. It took a pandemic to do it, but okay, great, fine. Now, what are we going to do about that at this moment? And are we going to keep that up? Or is it just in the moment? So, I just think that I'm glad that, we're all, I think with this technology, we've all been able to learn a lot more about our history, with the Tuskegee experiment, Henrietta Lacks, all those different folks. And so we literally have an individual and collective choice to make about the future of our own health and self-care.
And self-care. And to me, BAMS testifies to that.
Yeah.
With what you do, with what we do, with what we see, with what culture and everything we do, everything that Black and brown people do is culture. Mm-hmm. No matter what you're doing.
Absolutely.
And I think about it every day, because every now and then, at least 2 to 3 times a week, I think about BAMS. I said, okay, I wonder where we're at, what we're doing, how are we maneuvering, how are we planning, what is 21 going to look like, and I'm one of those people who realizes through a lot of education through my own family, especially my daughter, who is a nutritionist, but also who is very well versed and up to date in uh, not the arts itself, but the art of herbs
Mm-hmm.
and different foods to eat for different things. And those are the things she's always talking to me about. And the reason I say that is, I'm going to put this out there. I would love to see a herbalist as part of BAMS.
Okay.
For 2021, I would like to see somebody who could be out there talking to Black and brown folks about, hey, if you're not going to do that, then do this.
Mm-hmm.
Start learning. I fought for years about not learning, more about culture, more about herbs and different types of herbs and what they can do, different foods you can eat. And I've learned a lot since the pandemic started.
Of course, haven't we all?
Yes. Oh, it's like, okay, I cannot tell you how often I cook collard greens, okay? I cook them quite often because they're good for a lot of things, which I did not know about. And I've always eaten collard greens since I was a baby. But they're good for a lot of things.
Yeah, they are.
So that was a piece I wanted to put out there. I'd like to see that happen.
Well, I think for us as an organization, what we recognize for Black and brown communities and artists that we work with is, in order to be our most whole self, best self, creative self, it starts with understanding your relationship with the things that you shy away from, right?
Yes.
So whether it's whether it's like understanding your relationship with money or food or earth or recycling, like addressing what is the personal obstacle for that, and then unlearning all the things that you learn to learn new ways of incorporating those things into your life that are mutually beneficial, right? So to your point about herbalists or nutritionists or fitness instructors or whatever the case is.
Yes.
One is we have to be willing to understand why we've said no to those things for so long.
The concept.
And then to have an understanding as to what is the knowledge or resources that we need to know or have in order to make an informed decision about if we're going to incorporate that into our lives.
I agree with that.
And that's all a choice. I can read about herbs to the moon, doesn't mean I'm always going to use it, but am I informed about it? Yes. Do I intend to incorporate it, slowly in my cooking or whatever?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Right? But to do it right away, that's not going to be for everybody. But having the information, having the knowledge, as we know, knowledge is power. And as I've been seeing in Boston and beyond, there's a lot of folks who are growing their own herbs, their own vegetables, and the level of bragging and pride that people have. I'm like, okay, you better let your ancestors know you have connected with the earth, It's great. It's just so great to see that what we've been denied in our Western education about our innate abilities and skills are now coming back to us, like ancestors are speaking. And hopefully we're all listening.
And thank you. Hopefully we're all listening.
Worried your friend's struggling but don't know how to reach out?
You could say how are you or get a fake tattoo. You could ask with an app if it works for you. You could write him a text or knit him a sweater. If you can't be together, you could write him a letter. Whatever gets you talking. Whatever gets you talking. You could chat on the game, kick off your flip-flops. You could ask on your couch while you binge watch. However you do it, you gotta ask a friend. And if they don't share, you can ask again. Whatever gets you talking. Whatever Is it talking?
There are a lot of ways to reach out to a friend about their mental health. Learn how you can help at seizetheawkward.org.
And how has the transition been from not being out there on the grass with the stages and all of that, doing things virtually?
Virtual has been definitely, arguably, the most difficult transition.
Yes.
And I think not in the sense of, what most are thinking. I think it's from understanding technology. Like our phones and phone applications are as best as most people can do in terms of like understanding, you swipe, you type in a few buttons or whatever. Or even using our laptops, but to coordinate great sound through your laptop to give a quality show, it's not basic technology. There's all different types of software out here now, and hiring the right people to still convey the look and feel and the brand and the vision that you have. That's been much more harder this year of finding who those people are and being able to hang on to them. So that transition has been hard. I think programming content hasn't been hard because we're working with artists, and so it's really on them about how they want to tell their story and how we can amplify that story or their talent or their skill. So that hasn't been the hardest part. My mind is constantly going, even in a virtual space, about we should try this, we should try that, right? So that led to Versus or Vibes. I'm like, I wonder what a virtual music competition would look like. Okay. And, it's been well received by not just people here in Boston, but across the country, where folks, in Atlanta and New York and Chicago and LA want to compete, even though Versus and Vibes is Boston/New England based. So, it's been interesting about virtual has really opened the doors in more ways than I could ever imagine. And so it's like, which ideas do we go with? They're going to help us get to the most broadest audience possible, but also start to be taken much more seriously, more than just being a community organization with this huge platform that my hope is that it puts Boston back on the map in a different way, that we do have creative human beings here who are doing amazing things, and you need to know who they are. So, it's I've been more busier now than ever. This is in 5 years this organization has existed. I've been the most busiest this year because of the health and racial pandemic. Being a Black woman, being connected to Black and brown artists, the reliance on Black arts to heal everybody else, and they still be underpaid and undervalued. I've been more now than ever because of the amount of advocacy and pushback and even new partnership and even new donors that we've acquired, because my parameters are much different in terms of who we work with, in terms of the artists we work with, in terms of the partners we want to build relationships with. The dynamics have changed now. It's not about the excitement of, they're looking at me and I can jump. We don't do that anymore.
No, we don't.
It's like, this is what it is. And these are the things that are non-negotiable.
Absolutely. Before we go, and we are going to be going shortly, I want to ask you your work at the Isabella Gardner Museum. How do you find that? How did they take you coming into? Yeah, I'm talking Kat Morris here. Come on. I know this woman, and I know where she's coming from and what she's pushing forward to. What's it like being there? How do you find yourself being accepted? How do you find yourself pushing what you want out there to them?
It's always a delicate balance with any institution, right? Because you're still giving your creative capital to an institution, right?
Yes.
So that institution was looking for me. I wasn't looking for the institution. I was already done with what I had done in my career to start my own stuff. So it's because of Bands Festival 2018 that I was being looked at as someone for the job. And so it took almost 3 months for me to even before I could say yes, because I had recommended that job to other people. I wasn't looking for the job.
No.
I was not. And so I really had to think about that. And I was very stern about here are the things I can do while I'm here. And just know all these other things come with that. You know, the people that I bring are black and brown. The artists that I'm going to work with are black and brown. That I will always have a community hat on and a lens that I wear in anything that I do. Please know that that's what you get. So how this institution is used to doing things would have to shift if you're trying to get at these community people who are going to question why you're doing these things. And it's partly because of the programming that I'm doing and that there's a black woman at the helm of that, the transition of black and brown people walking through the door is a little bit easier because they can see that, wow, the gardener's really changed, like what's going on over there? Cat's over there. Oh, Cat for Bands Fest. Yeah. Okay, that makes sense.
Okay.
So even at times of virtual, we're doing some really great things, and I think it's just a balance of institutional needs and directives with the things I want to create while I'm there. And I think given the things I've done in the last 2 years, black and brown artists from all kinds of disciplines are now interested in being featured at the Gardner. And that was never a thing.
No, it wasn't.
It wasn't a thing.
No, it wasn't. Even with the person that was there before you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I've known Janetta Tinker for over 20 years. It wasn't like that even with her there.
Yeah.
But then there's you. And what comes, and when you get Catherine T. Morris, you, as you said, it comes with that.
Yes.
That's just the way it is.
Yeah, it's important to bring your full self to your work. And I love what I do. I deem myself as a creative strategist. I just love coming up with different things, but they gotta be meaningful though.
Yes.
I don't sign up for something for the sake of signing up for it. Like there's gotta be moments of creative autonomy where I've done my research, I've done my homework, I've asked the questions, I've walked the space. I'm thinking of who are going to be the right people that are going to make this space feel like home, and being able to have the folks trust in what I'm trying to do come to fruition, right? So there's got to be this delicate balance of creative autonomy and strategy that I'm allowed to do, because that's how I function every day. Like I said, I'm constantly creating. I'm trying to think about, we should do this, we should do that, but where should that live? Like who is
who's got
the it factor? Like, what space has that factor? What people, what organizations or individuals are intentional about building organically over a period of time, long term. And that kind of vetting process, you start to do process elimination about who's really out here supporting us.
Thank you.
And it makes it easier, actually. For me, it does.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I will tell you, it's been great, being with you and seeing you again after 10 months, or was it 7?
Feels like closer to a year.
Yeah, you're right. It's probably closer to a year. You're probably right.
Yeah.
But it's good to catch up, to know where you are,
Likewise.
what BAM's is doing, and how they're going to be moving.